So when it comes to knee health, there is a lot of misconceptions of what is healthy, what is normal, and more importantly, what's possible. And I get a lot of these comments when people see my videos as far as my mobility. And here's my experience with knees, knee problems, and being over 50. And so I'm 53, 54, almost 54. And it's safe to say I have very mobile hips and more importantly, mobile hips and knees. And I'm very flexible. But the thing is this didn't come overnight. This is something I worked on. And as far as working on it, this is actually fairly recent because in April of 2020, I tore my MCL, I believe on my right knee, and then the February of 2021, before I left from American Ninja Warrior, I tore the other leg, the other knee, the MCL, the other knee. And in the interim of those two events, I realized I had to work on strengthening my knees to the point where I realized that my knees weren't failing me. I was failing my knees. And more importantly, what I realized was I didn't work on my knees. And there's this mentality that your knees are your knees. They are what they are. You can't do anything about them, and that they will fail whenever they feel like it. That's not the truth. Just like a lot of things in your body, if you don't use them, you lose the ability. Your knees are arguably the best example of that. And what I realized when I tore my MCL the first time, the first one, because I haven't done it again, I realized as a cyclist and a runner before that, many years ago before that, I only did work in one plane, just going forward, tracking my knee this way. There was no lateral work. I didn't play football, I didn't play basketball. And I realized, what are the odds, because I only did this, the fact that I didn't work on lateral movements, like I just described, just showed you the Cossack squat, maybe that was the reason why the tendons weren't strong enough. And I know I'm going to get pushback from just the statements I made this far. Keep in mind, I'm also not overweight. And being overweight and obesity is an epidemic in the United States. And I think it's over 60% in America are overweight, and the percentage of that are obese is significantly high. So right off the bat, the majority of Americans, adult Americans, are already carrying a lot more load on their knees than they need to. So that's going to upset a lot of people, but that's the hard truth. And that is, in my opinion, one of the main reasons why people have bad knees. It's just too much weight on their knees. They just weren't designed for that. They were designed for this. They were designed for this in rice paddies for my people. You're designed to be mobile. You're not designed to sit in a chair, watch TV, and things like that. Sedentary behavior. You're designed to move around. And this is what I was thinking when we're in the midst of COVID. I wasn't going to go to a doctor in April 2020. I wasn't going to go anywhere near a hospital if I didn't have to. And I had a family to take care of. So I just decided to let it rest as much as I could. But then I immediately started doing research and started to actively work on it. It really hurt the most in the morning. And whenever I put weight on my leg. But I realized after a while, and after doing a lot of research, that the Cossack squat was probably the best thing I needed to work on to repair my MCL and to strengthen the other leg. And in doing so, I had already heard of Ben Patrick. So a lot of stuff I'm talking about is knees over toes. If you don't know who he is, look it up. And I don't want to because he does a much better way of explaining it. But for me to mention Ben adds to the idea that he's not a quack, I'm not a quack, and that these methods of working on this range of motion that you were told to not do, like having your knee over your toe, is in fact actually great for your knees. And exercising these movements that we were told would destroy your knees. Doing deep squats would destroy your knees. They don't. If you have the appropriate amount of flexibility and you work towards these range of motions, they become normal. And because they're abnormal now because you don't use them, but they're normal to human beings. And that said, going back to Ben, in fact, the reason why I started to think about this in 2020 about you need to work on these ranges is I was able to always be able to do the pistol squat. I wouldn't say always. There's times when I didn't work on this range that it was difficult, but it was definitely possible for me. And there was someone I knew that I would post videos of me doing pistol squats. And this person that I know, who fancies himself as an expert, said, you shouldn't do that, it's going to ruin your knees. I took that to heart and thought about it, and just to avoid having to read nasty comments, because back then my skin wasn't that thick, I stopped posting the pistol squat videos, but I didn't stop doing them. And I did my own research, and I realized pistol squats are fine. There's no expiration date, or there's no amount of pistol squats you can do before your knee blows out. And just like anything, you don't want to overuse it. I don't do pistol squats all day, every day, and I don't do dynamic jumps on one leg and land on it every day. But I build up strength to be able to handle that kind of load to the point where it doesn't hurt. And that's the main thing. If it hurts, stop doing it. And that's my mantra. If I do something that it really, really hurts, and I know, like, and I have enough common sense and experience with my own body to know, like, hey, that's not good, I won't do it. But anytime you see me do a movement in a video, chances are that eternal dialogue isn't going off. So back to the knees. I started that April because I was worried. It's like, maybe I will have to get surgery. But I read that you could fix MCLs, where they could repair themselves. So as much as I could, I just started to do this range. And this was excruciating because I didn't have this kind of the groin muscles and flexibility of doing that. That was my knee popping. That's totally normal. And more importantly, as I was getting this range of motion, making it normal for me again, I was able to strengthen myself to where this didn't hurt, where this actually felt great. This felt like it was normal. And then to the point where I have enough strength and flexibility and mobility to sit down in this position and come up, out, hold it maybe, and come back up. I worked on that for weeks. And it was rewarding because I remember the first time I did it, like, I couldn't get obviously I was in pain too on my leg, on my knee, but it hurt so bad. But it was a good kind of pain. And that inner dialogue didn't go off. That alarm didn't go off. So I worked on it. And as I started to get day after day, taking a little rest in between, I started to get more range. And I was getting motivated because I could see, like, oh my goodness, I could do this. Oh my goodness, I could do that. And eventually I was able to do the casa squat, no problem, do it with a load, kettlebell, whatever, hold a dumbbell, barbell, whatever. And that's when I realized, like, maybe I'm getting stronger. And then of course my other knee went out, but I didn't think that what I was doing wasn't helping. I just knew that it didn't hurt as bad. It didn't tear as bad, at least it didn't feel as bad. It didn't definitely make the nasty noise, but I knew I was on the path. And that was, 2021, and I haven't had an incident since. Have I pushed it that hard? I don't think so. Or maybe I have, and I just don't think about it. But here's the rub, is I could tear my MCL at any point now. I could tear my ACL at any point now. I could tear a groin at any point now. But the thing is that I'm trying to do something to prevent that, as opposed to accepting fate and saying, oh, my knees have a certain expiration date. I used it for the 10,000 bends that I was allotted, and now I'm at 10,001. And so I need, I'm done and give up. I'm trying, actively trying to stretch out that time I have with my knees. And by doing so, I'm not just letting it sit and wallow in its own self-pity. I'm actively trying to engage it, to tell it, hey, let's just try to stretch the limit a little bit to a healthy limit so you can get stronger. So, short story long, your knees are much more durable than you think they are, but you got to get the load off of it, and that's losing weight. And I have a video about trying to maintain a diet and getting fit when you're over 40. See the link wherever I can try to place it. But that said, back to the knee part, the biggest contributor to knee problems, in my opinion, is people being overweight. Sure, you could have a catastrophic injury on it by participating in sports when you're younger. But for the most majority of people, it is because you have too much weight on that joint and you've worn it out. But if you're trying to rehab yourself, I'm not an expert in physical therapists. There are better physical therapists and more experts than that. But if you haven't injured yourself, some of the stuff I demonstrate in my videos, like the Cossack squat, the 90-90s, the dip. This is particularly great for your hips, are all excellent exercises. Thanks for listening to my rant. Talk to you later. Internally rotate, externally rotate, stand. In, out, stand. '90s are great for opening up your hips because externally and internally rotating your hips is difficult for a lot of people, particularly internally rotating your hips. And this is a goal to work up to.